For over 60 years, James Bond has been thrilling movie audiences all around the world. Since its beginning in 1962 with Dr. No, the suave and sophisticated British spy has become an iconic figure in popular culture. Bond's enduring legacy can be attributed to a combination of factors, including the charismatic actors who portrayed him, the thrilling espionage narratives, and the innovative filming techniques employed throughout the series. The franchise's longevity can be largely attributed to the remarkable actors who have donned the tuxedo and introduced their own unique interpretations of Bond. From Sean Connery's charismatic portrayal in the early films to Daniel Craig's gritty and realistic take on the character, each actor has brought their own charm and style to the role, ensuring its continued relevance and appeal to audiences across generations. More than that, the Bond films have consistently delivered gripping plots filled with espionage, action, and intrigue. From thwarting megalomaniacal villains to saving the world from imminent destruction, Bond's missions have provided audiences with a thrilling escape. The franchise's ability to reinvent itself while staying true to its core elements has allowed it to remain relevant and captivating for over 60 years. However, the series is no stranger to controversy. Hey everyone, I'm Brendan Kelleher. So recently, I read that the British Film Institute was celebrating the work of the late James Bond film music composer John Barry by doing special screenings of some of the early 007 films, like Goldfinger, You Only Live Twice, and On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Now, that sounds pretty cool to me. John Barry was a fantastic composer, and his music is a huge part of why those movies became so popular as they did. What seems to have drawn more attention, though, is that the BFI has somehow felt they need to slap trigger warnings on these films.
You're joking.
The event page states, "Please note that many of these films contain language, images, or other content that reflect views prevalent in its time, but will cause offense today, as they did then. The titles are included here for historical, cultural, or aesthetic reasons, and these views are in no way endorsed by the BFI or its partners." And yada yada yada. Now, the sad thing is, this doesn't surprise me in the slightest. It would have about 5 years ago. But lately, it seems that not only are our favourite franchises like Star Trek, Star Wars, and yes, James Bond being turned into woke intersectional feminist garbage, but it seems like classic films like The French Connection have been edited to have certain words that begin with the letter N being removed entirely from the version available on streaming services. Not only that, but we've seen several classic books written by the likes of Roald Dahl, like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, having supposedly offensive language being removed. As for James Bond, several of Ian Fleming's original novels that first introduced the character back in the 50s and 60s have been edited as well, removing references to the ethnicities of certain characters. Now, in my opinion, all of this is just ridiculous. The idea that a work of fiction made in the past has to be edited to suit the so-called sensibilities of the modern-day audience is not only insulting to fans of those works, but catering to those who are so easily offended by anything. I am completely against the idea of censorship, as it violates freedom of expression. The James Bond books and movies are works of fiction. They are entertainment, and the character of Bond was created from a completely different era. You can't go back and edit the 1960s. Are there questionable aspects of the James Bond books and movies? It depends on context. Let's look at the character of James Bond for a moment. Bond is a symbol of sophistication, intelligence, and daring in the world of espionage. While he's been portrayed by various actors over the years, each bringing their own interpretation to the character, the essence of Bond remains consistent throughout his many iterations. One of the defining characteristics of James Bond is his unwavering coolness under pressure. Whether he's facing off against a deadly villain or seducing a beautiful woman, Bond always maintains a calm and collected demeanour. In addition to his mental prowess, Bond is also physically formidable. He's a highly skilled combatant, trained in various forms of fighting and armed combat. Bond's physicality is not only evident in his ability to overpower his opponents, but also in his great sense of style. He's always impeccably dressed, exuding an air of sophistication and elegance that is synonymous with the character. Bond's physicality and sense of style contribute to his overall aura of confidence and magnetism. He's a man every man wants to be, and every woman wants to be with. Another key aspect of Bond's character is his unwavering loyalty to his country, the United Kingdom, and to the British Secret Service MI6. Bond is a true patriot, willing to risk his life to protect his country and its interests. This loyalty is evident in his unwavering dedication to his missions, often going above and beyond the call of duty to ensure their success. The fact is, however, Bond is a killer. That's what he does for a living, and that often requires him to be cold and dispassionate about doing it. He has a license to kill, meaning he can kill who he pleases, when he pleases, however he pleases.
It doesn't bother you killing those people?
I wouldn't be very good at my job if it did.
He doesn't care whether his target is black or white, male or female. He'll do what it takes to get the job done. So by definition, the character should be offensive to certain people. I've seen some people point out certain scenes and moments from the movies that supposedly prove that Bond is a racist.
Where's your boat? Fetch my shoes.
I personally think that some people read too much into scenes like this. Bond calls people as he sees them, whatever their skin color or ethnicity. The movie adaptation of Live and Let Die features several villains who are black, like Kananga for example, but this makes no difference to Bond, and they're just obstacles to overcome, just as always. I will admit though that the book version of Live and Let Die is vastly different in this regard, and the filmmaker has made some sensible changes here. However, I still believe the book should not be censored for reasons I'll clarify at the end of this video. Now, when it comes to the other controversial aspect of 007, as both a literary and cinematic character, we simply have to talk about the one thing that Bond quite simply can't get enough of.
Pussy.
Yes, when it comes to the ladies, Bond is often portrayed as a womanizer, engaging in numerous casual relationships throughout the series. This man has a way with the ladies, to say the least. His smooth talking and irresistible charisma make it nearly impossible for any woman to resist his advances. Bond knows how to make a woman feel special, and he always seems to have the right words at the right time.
How do you kill 5 hours in Rio if you don't samba?
It's no wonder he's had a great number of romantic conquests throughout the series. In fact, I think it's Vesper Lynd in Casino Royale who best sums up Bond's attitude and relationships with women in general.
You think of women as disposable pleasures rather than meaningful pursuits.
It's probably Bond's overall attitude to women, particularly in the 60s and 70s, that have the modern woke crowd up in arms. Sean Connery's interpretation of the character had a tendency to be, how shall I say this, rather hands-on when it came to members of the opposite sex. Not that I approve of this behaviour, but I've always found it interesting that woke feminists bring up Bond slapping women in these films as being problematic, but never seem to have a problem with him beating up men or killing them. It's this double standard that I find ridiculous. By the way, most of the women that Bond does slap tend to be villains who try to kill him. Also, Bond himself has been slapped around a few times by women.
I've got you now.
Well, enjoy yourself.
I guess the point I'm making is that Bond treats men and women equally. He plays no favourites based on gender. A true progressive feminist. Probably what is today considered the most controversial moment of Connery's third Bond movie, Goldfinger, is the barn scene between Bond and Pussy Galore. At this point in the film, Bond is a prisoner on Goldfinger's ranch, and knows of his plan to kill thousands of people by detonating an atomic bomb at Fort Knox. Bond convinces Pussy to switch sides, and help him stop Goldfinger by appealing to her maternal instincts. Now, I've seen and heard many comments over the last few years about how this scene is supposedly offensive. However, let's not forget that Bond is in fact being held as a prisoner against his will, and Miss Galore has held him at gunpoint a few times already. Bond has the right to escape by any means necessary, and doing so saves thousands of lives. You may disagree with his methods, but he gets the job done. I think part of the reason why the James Bond series has survived for over 60 years now is that it's changed with the times. As society and trends have changed over the decades, so have the movies. The 1960s and 70s were simply a different era, with different attitudes regarding race and gender. Bond, as a character, is perfectly described by M in GoldenEye as a sexist, misogynist dinosaur. That's what he is. He's a flawed character for sure, but there are many appealing aspects about the character as well. That's why we like him so much. While some of the early movies may have what are considered dated and sexist aspects to them, They simply represent the era they were made in. To hold them to current day standards is ridiculous. If anyone is going to watch a movie or read a book from the 50s or 60s, common sense should tell them that they will find aspects of them that probably wouldn't be commonplace today. In my opinion though, while the movies have changed over the decades, Bond should not. While the character has been interpreted multiple times by several different actors, he should essentially remain the same. Bond may be sexist and misogynist, but the movies don't have to be, and that's the difference. Overall, the very notion of having to put trigger warnings in front of movies made from several decades ago is, in my opinion, ridiculous. Life doesn't come with trigger warnings, and neither should movies. If you're the kind of person who gets offended by everything, you will never enjoy anything. At the end of the day, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then please give it a like. Consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. Share it with your friends. Click the bell for notifications. And let me know in the comments, do you think classic movies should come with trigger warnings? Most importantly, I hope you all look after yourselves, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye for now.